Hello transport nerds and welcome back to Talking Planning. Before my last State of the Plan episode, I talked about and showed off some rail replacement buses. And that got me thinking, what if I took the bus and replacement bits out of that topic and jumped on board a train again? So that's exactly what we're doing today, heading back down to Melbourne to look at the Siemens Nexas. I've always been fairly intrigued by these trains, ever since first reading up on them before travelling to Melbourne. The front end of the Nexus looks pretty interesting because of how untrain-like its appearance is. The headlights remind me more of an Irizar coach due to their unique shape, and the windscreen wipers look much more car or bus-like. Apart from the green destination board, the front end also looks pretty modern, perhaps more so than the Extrapolis, a design which was entering service as late as 2020. So, let's jump on board. Despite being ordered by M-Train, the first Nexus units entered service under Victorian government operation as the franchise had been handed back prior to being passed on to Connex. During their life, Nexus trains have worn some interesting hybrid liveries, from plain stainless steel sides and white fronts to hybrid Connex and white front liveries, to the full-on Connex blue and yellow, and now onto the Metro Trains Melbourne full livery we know today, which I think freshens up the design rather well. While these changes are well documented, most of these photos are copyrighted, so I'll have Vic Sig linked below so you can check out a selection of liveries snapped over the years for yourself. Like many new vehicle introductions, there were some teething problems to begin with, but fortunately after some years of restrictions in operations, testing and changes to operating procedures, and the installation of sanding devices, overrun incidents seem to have been minimised. There's plenty of further reading available on the topic, from enthusiast commentary to safety investigation reports and even through to court proceedings for those of you after a bit more detail. Travelling on board in June 2022, I was happy to find that Nexus trains were operating smoothly, and the passenger experience I had overall was pretty good. Like most of the Metro fleet, the seats are fairly firm, but the backrest is pretty supportive. There is clear delineation in Victoria between Metro and V-Line, and that means that the longer rail journeys that you would take tend to be operated by rolling stock with much more comfortable and plush seating. I do like the seat pattern though, which lists out the names of stations across the network. It is a neat touch, and in terms of transport nerdiness, reminds me a little bit about how London has its unique moquette fabrics for certain train types and certain lines. The Nexus has a 2+2 seat layout, unlike the previous Hitachi, Comenge and early Extrapolis units, and that provides a wider aisle and extra standing space. The HCMT and after refurbishment, all Extrapolis trains now have the adopted 2+2 seat layout. Hand grips are fitted along the roofline, which makes it easier for standing passengers to hang on to. The key difference though in terms of interior layout is that these carriages only have 2 doors on either side, rather than 3 per side on all other Metro electric rolling stock. The doors though are a little larger than those fitted to the other train types. In terms of boarding and alighting speed, less doors could potentially worsen queuing in the aisle, but the jury is out on whether it actually makes a significant difference in practice on these trains. One benefit of the Nexus design is the lack of intercarriage doors, which makes it easier to travel to another carriage once you've boarded. A neat touch in the seats near the cab is a dedicated wheelchair assistance button, alerting the guard if a mobility device user requires assistance at the next stop. It's really nice to see this separated from the emergency help point, as separating customer assistance from an emergency in function makes help points less confusing to use, and it reduces the risk that someone who actually really needs mobility assistance feels too uncomfortable to request it. The passenger information displays are located at the ends of the carriage and scroll through next stations or show a static image of the current station when stopped. The intercom and key instructions are located at the top of the door, and I also spotted this slightly unexpected passenger crawling its way down the door while waiting at Flinders Street. Hope it remembered to tap on its Mikey card. Like the rest of Melbourne's suburban network, these trains run on 1500 volt DC power, travelling at up to 115 km/h in service. The Nexus is actually capable of almost 150 km/h, making it the fastest electric multiple unit at Metro Trains Melbourne, so let's have a listen now. On the whole, I actually quite enjoyed travelling on board the Nexus trains, as their design is quite interesting, they've got a decent feature set, and there are some really good little touches that set them apart from most of the fleet. Having a walk-through design, well-integrated passenger information displays and dedicated help buttons for wheelchair-accessible spaces, and individual flip-up seating, about 20 years ago, are key features that improve passenger experience and hadn't been mirrored on some of the newer types like the Extrapolis. So let's head over to Caulfield to watch a pair of Nexus trains depart, and a pair to arrive to finish today's video. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.